For the longest time, I've been fascinated by infinity, by how impossible it is to comprehend, that we cannot truly picture something that doesn't end, that there is no way to depict it. There is something existential to that, but honestly, what I find to be significantly more existential is the opposite, the finite. The fact that there is only a set number of everything, that you will run out of time, that there are only so many possible experiences, only so many things to do, so many people to be, so many thoughts to have. While all are incomprehensibly large numbers, they are theoretically countable. Every single thing that we understand, we will run out of. No matter what it is, everything must end. So Resident Evil 4 is a... Over the past year or so, I've come to the realization that 2005's Resident Evil 4 is two entirely separate games in one. The first game is the Resident Evil 4 that we're all familiar with, the action horror game where secret agent Leon Kennedy saves the president's daughter from an evil Spanish terrorist bug cult. Then there's the second game, the one that happens when Resident Evil 4 ends. New Game Plus simply allows you to transfer over your past inventory to a fresh game, essentially allowing the adventure to continue. Not only that, but it also unlocks ultra-powerful weapons, though at a great cost. This completely shifts how the game feels. For one, it quickly stops being a horror game whatsoever, as you've already experienced everything. The action can now take center stage. Not only that, but also the story of Leon and Ashley and the game's questionable ideology stop mattering at all. It just becomes a game. Previously, I've called this ludonarrative takeover, where this story, as told by the gameplay, entirely supersedes any written narrative. Leon Kennedy is not a character anymore, but instead, he's solely the vessel through which you perform epic violence against random Spanish farmers and try on silly outfits. This, combined with everything else you unlock, like the equally non-canonical Assignment Ada and Mercenaries, further cements RE4 as a game that transforms into an arcadey action game. I think even the game's use of the word rounds plays into this very video gamey second half, one that can be played indefinitely. I would never stop someone from saying they've played RE4 if they've never done any of this, but I do think that to get the full experience, you should at least engage with some of it, see what the game becomes. It's there for a reason. All of this got me thinking about infinity and video games because honestly, it's quite unique to the medium. A lot of the medium's early history was dominated by arcades, and arcade games aren't really designed to end. They're either deliberately infinitely replayable, or if there is an ending, then the game is brutally difficult because that's how you get the most money. If people don't come back to the machine, it will stop generating revenue.
And you come back?
Oh, sure.
Again?
Oh, sure.
Again?
Yeah.
With the shift to home consoles, a lot of that arcade design carried over. Points, lives, that sort of thing. Design that makes a lot more sense when your score could be displayed for others to see and continuing cost money. But that last bit is a pretty important difference. You can just continue, the only loss being your time. As a result, the end became more important. If we think of games as a sequence of challenges, then, well, getting to the end proves that you're sick as fuck and awesome and maybe sexy and smart, I don't fucking know you. This emphasis on the end as a goal is quite unique for an artistic medium. Sure, books and movies end, but that's not the point. You aren't rushing to get it over with. If you were, that would be a bad movie. When we look at video gamey games, this is fine, because the challenge of getting to the end, of learning the mechanics and overcoming obstacles, is the point, is the entertainment. The ending is almost automatically a satisfying conclusion because it took work to get there, and that didn't have to end at the ending. You can always get better at the game, get a higher score, beat it faster. By being games, replayability was kind of baked in. While this is still how video games are structured, at least in an abstract sense, I don't think it's so clear-cut. As the medium got more advanced, isn't the right word, as the medium got more, raw mechanical challenge became less of a priority in favor of more traditional filmic storytelling, now that the technology could handle it. Because I'm not a hack, I understand gameplay and story are not entirely separate, and the types of stories video games wanted to tell had a major impact on game design. They became less like games, less like digital sports, and more like interactive films. Replaying is now a fundamentally different experience the same way rewatching a film is. You can never be ignorant of the events of its story again. The emotions you feel can never be the same, unless you get flashed with a neuralizer or hit in the head really hard. This adds a lot of baggage to replayability that simply didn't exist before. Replaying now means things like watching cutscenes, playing through moments that are designed with initial emotional impact in mind. And that's, fine, that's cool and good. Non-replayable games are good. All of this is what makes Resident Evil 4 so interesting, to watch the prototype for the modern third-person cinematic shooter revert into a raw ludic experience. One that breaks the boundaries between beginning and end and throws away all narrative justifications for the action on screen. One that becomes an infinite game. The desire for replayability is only one part of a broader issue with how games are treated and how much is often expected from them. For one, games are expensive. Both the games themselves and the hardware required to run them have ballooned in price over the past few years. Games require their own expensive dedicated devices, and especially to a casual, standard audience who pick up blockbuster games, they can cost a lot of fucking money. And it is easy to conflate quantity with cost. An infinite game would be the most bang for your buck. This isn't a good thing for the record, neither the price nor the idea that the more hours spent in a game, the better it is, yet often it feels like that's the reality we live in. The thing about a replayable game is that yes, it can functionally be infinite, but only insofar that it repeats over and over, but you enjoy it enough not to care. An infinite loop, but not really infinite content. Something to understand about games is that in comparison to other mediums, they are defined by the technology that powers them. There are games that exist now that couldn't exist even recently. As a result, for the first 35 years or so of video games as a consumer product, leaps in technology represented new types of games that simply could not exist before. This has given many people the idea that games as a medium have progressed linearly. Regardless of what us pretentious losers like to think, mainstream video games are often tech products. At the very least, the medium is very tied to the tech industry, an industry that constantly needs to sell progress or else there's no reason to give them more money. They need to convince buyers that there is consistent innovation. A great way to market that your game is more advanced and ergo the hardware it's running on is too, is with scale. In the past 2 decades or so, the medium has become obsessed with scale, with making the biggest world with the mostest stuff. While sure, there have been big worlds since the medium could handle it, it was the advent of 3D gaming that really changed people's perspective. The very shape of the spaces players inhabit changed. The size of the world was more obvious now that it could be viewed from all angles, fundamentally changing exploration itself, which gave rise to a new form of hardware-based dick measuring, map size. You know, there could be disagreements over the exact game that kickstarted this obsession, but I don't think anyone would say that it started after 2001's Grand Theft Auto 3. And I want to talk about this series, given that it is in many ways the prototypical modern open world, and I think I have takes on them that I don't really hear from people very often. So let me just talk about GTA and Infinity. Now, let me just get my quick virtue signal out there. Rockstar are fucking evil, by the way. I'm pretty sure if an employee even mutters the word union around the higher-ups, they beat them up and steal their car. Do not buy Grand Theft Auto 6. Please. GTA 3 was one of the first truly popular, free-flowing, open-world games with minimal loading screens. It gave players an entire city to unlock and explore. Especially at the time, this was fairly novel, and it is very technically impressive and looks pretty cool. There's a couple of things that came out of this game. For one, if not pioneered, then it definitely popularized a new type of play. While GTA 3 can be played like a standard video game, the linear sequence of challenges, you do not have to do that. Pretty famously, the game lets you ignore all that and fuck around and do whatever you want, with a level of freedom that was much less common. Look, sure, in other open games, you could obviously ignore the story, but if you stop in Ocarina of Time, so does the world. Sure, some things happen, there is stuff to do and see, but nothing will advance without you progressing in the story. No one will ever react to you unless you play the part of the hero of time. In contrast, the non-linear aspects of GTA 3 make it an infinite game. In a way very unlike the past examples we've gone through. The game doesn't loop. It is not a simple pick up and play high score based game where you can always improve either. Instead, it is infinite because there is always something new. This is because the world is reactive. Long after the story's conclusion, the city will keep moving, and it is still interactable. The core building blocks of the gameplay, exploration, reckless driving, and action can all be accessed without engaging with the narrative at all. This is through its emergent gameplay. Relatively simple systems and rules scaled up. When you commit crimes, the cops aren't going to like that very much. They like it less the more you do and will try to arrest or kill you, and that's it. This one principle allows for endless dynamic gameplay. Because it isn't scripted, no two run-ins with the in-game law will play out the same. Combine this with the inclusion of enemy factions and you have a recipe for infinite chaos. And while everything I just said is true, there does come a point where that stops mattering. While yes, every single encounter will be unique in some way, there are only so many ways that can actually matter. Actually feel fun and fresh. Don't get me wrong, I think the wanted system, as it's called, is a pretty good piece of game design. However, when talking infinity, the amount of stuff that can happen is pretty limited by the amount of vehicles, weapons, and importantly, space. Which brings us back to the map. While I implied I think GTA 3 was kind of patient zero for AAA's obsession with scale, it is interesting how limited it is. While finding a concrete answer is difficult with digital space, the game setting of Liberty City is generally estimated to be about 8 square kilometers, with nearly half of that being water. This isn't a problem at all. Even if you're an immersion-obsessed gamer bro, the level design is excellent and has a very smart utilization of sight lines and road layouts to make the city always feel massive regardless of its actual size. That being said, the game doesn't mind showing you boundaries. It's quite comfortable with invisible walls, sometimes showing you flimsy justifications like road closures and power cables, but also lines its ocean with an invisible wall. And it's fine, and nobody would consider this a problem. Nobody except Rockstar themselves. If GTA 3 sparked the obsession with scale, then GTA San Andreas was the point of no return. While Liberty City is 8 kilometers squared, the state of San Andreas is 38 kilometers squared, with only a small section of that being water. San Andreas is packed full of places to see, things to do. It is more than any other game the true formation of the modern third-person open-world shooter with heavy cinematic influences. While that sounds negative, and it definitely would be in any other context, San Andreas kind of escapes this by being the first. Yes, its world is huge, but not so big that it feels bloated. Graphics stylized enough to be interesting to look at, and action that hasn't fully morphed into the modern consolidated control scheme we've all become tired of. See, I kind of lied. San Andreas is 38 kilometers squared if you measure it with the map screen's boundaries in mind. But that is not the entire playable space. No, San Andreas is an infinite game. In a bizarre decision I to this day do not fully understand, Rockstar decided that invisible walls were simply not immersive enough, that players would somehow be distracted by them. So instead, they did this. This is San Andreas's infinite Pacific Ocean. It doesn't end. Maybe it will at the integer limit, who knows, but as far as can be measured, this is infinite. An expanse of nothingness, but an infinite space nonetheless. And how bizarre is that? That someone thought this was the more reasonable immersive barrier in comparison to, well, a barrier. Endless nothingness. An ocean that is functionally larger than any actual ocean on Earth. This also creates a strange disconnect. The world of the text and the world of the game are different in a really obvious and bizarre way. San Andreas is California, but California isn't an island and neither is San Andreas. Yet, here you can see the ocean at every single corner. San Andreas mostly gets away with this because of the aforementioned smart level design. The coasts are never ever visible from each other. This would never happen again. Grand Theft Auto 4 also has an infinite ocean, but its game world is nothing but a city floating in an endless sea. And quite unlike San Andreas, it's easy to be reminded of this. I do not think this was intentional for a second, but I think it works really well. The world of Grand Theft Auto 4 is harsh, dismal, and ugly, and there is something to the fact that all you as the player can see is an oppressively miserable concrete jungle that you cannot escape from. There is nothing else. The characters talk as if they are part of America, as if there is more out there, but there isn't. You are stuck here, which in my opinion is a fate worse than death because you're trapped here with Ricky Gervais. When you sail or fly over the ocean, you are in a place that isn't just fictional, but doesn't even exist within the world of the fiction. The oceans of Grand Theft Auto do not exist within the text. They are only for you. A bizarre, non-existent void that Rockstar somehow thought was more immersive. How fucking weird are these? To some extent, we have been beaten around the bush, which I always thought was a weird phrase. I've been so focused on how cool GTA 3 looks and how weird the oceans are that I've kind of neglected to talk about the initial point. The reason I brought up this series in the first place, which is the rot. A discussion of these games and scale could not be complete without talking about the rest of the industry, the open world boom of the 7th and 8th generations. You know, Ubisoft games, where the idea of the bloated open world even really came from. Games just chock full of absolute bullshit and copy and pasted events. This sort of design came to define the open world genre, a genre that just kept getting bigger. The obvious issue with this is bigger maps require stronger hardware, require more people, require more development time, require bigger budgets. And don't forget, you also need people to actually populate the map with stuff to do. So, what if you design a couple of different things to do and let the computer figure out the rest? When I think about AAA bloat and infinity, I think about Skyrim. Skyrim is an infinite game. Not in the sense that its world is infinite, because it isn't. Neither does it loop, at least not in the same way. And its infinite gameplay isn't just from dynamic systems, but instead presents itself as actual structured gameplay. These are Radiant quests. Radiant quests are some bullshit squirted out of Todd Howard's mind dome to make you think you're playing an actual video game, but instead it's just endlessly regurgitated, randomly generated fetch quests. These are nothing. They are dull repeats of walk here, fight some guys, and pick up some shit or just kill them or whatever. To Skyrim's credit, that is the core gameplay loop in the more structured parts too. This system sucks. It's good if you're the type of person who wants to zone out with a game, I suppose, but it does feel extremely hollow. Nothing but distracting busy work devoid of actual intentionality, devoid of any real storytelling beyond, these are bad guys, click on them until they die. See, this is a way you can achieve infinity through procedural and random generation, a reshuffling of prefab game design, which is one of the core tenets of the roguelike. Has this ever happened to you?
Ugh, God damn it, this is the third Discord server I've been banned from this week. These people just don't understand my incredibly valuable opinions on Garten of Bonban and Amazing Digital Circus and Drakengard.
Buddy, I'm telling you, that's perfect. I got just the thing for you, okay? You need to join the community server. Oh boy, that's right. The home is now a place that you can go to. I'm telling you, the person watching this shit. And let me tell you, we got some good stuff in here because you can send text, images, sources are telling me some sound. I'm not so sure about that, but listen to this. Just look at these brilliant emotes. Fun commands.
Carl, behead my father. Carl, do you think the human soul has transient properties, or are we firmly cemented to our mortal shells? Carl, give me this guy's blue sky password.
Do you not believe me? Okay, jeez. Okay, fine. Fucking asshole. Oh my god. Here, listen to these glowing reviews.
I got the Goomba. The Goomba over here.
I'll have what he's having.
Is this not enough for you? Okay, fine. You want more? You're greedy? You're a greedy little weirdo? Okay, fine. Jesus. At that point, check out the Patreon. What? For $1 a month, I mean, what the fuck are you gonna do with $1? What are you doing with $1? If you want a little bit more of me, then consider for $5, you can get more stuff, all put into the Hooligans channel on the server. You can get some behind the scene content, a periodic bonus videos, and even video previews well before the video comes out. What the fuck? Like, imagine if you had money. Now imagine if I had it instead. What a beautiful world we could live in.
For the purposes of this video, I'm going to be mostly talking about modern roguelites, which are the predominant genre right now. I'm also going to admit my biases. I will be very upfront and say I don't fucking get roguelikes at all. Roguelikes are infinite games. Games where death means a full reset and the reshuffling of the map, keeping things fresh always. In true roguelikes, the permadeath is actually that. Permadeath. Each run you start from zero, and there is something interesting about that. It harkens back to that arcadey design about mastering a game through the development of raw skills, through trial and error and learning. And then there's the much more common roguelites, which contain some amount of actual permanent linear progression, like a real video game. Sorry. This means that you get more standard, generic design, but combined with environments and structure that distinctly lacks intentionality because they must endlessly be reshuffled. The environments you inhabit, the things that happen in said rooms, end up being somewhat limited because the more complicated a system, the harder it is to randomize. This is why Skyrim's quests are extremely mundane, simple cases of throw a bandit's head into the ground. As much as I want to be open, understand the merits of every single genre, never say what games can't be, it is hard to shake the feeling that the popularity of these games isn't at least partially because they are infinite content machines. One purchase towards endless, repetitive, simple to understand gameplay. And while that isn't an issue, the proliferation of it is. The thing about a roguelike though is that ultimately everything you see was designed by a person. The only thing that changes is the order in which they occur. As a result, as infinite as the games are, they can only show you so many things. They are still quite structured. So what if the game was actually infinite? You ever heard of Minecraft? Probably not. It's a pretty obscure one. Minecraft presented a pretty interesting concept, the ability to freely build anything, to reshape the game's world as you see fit. Not only that, but each world is unique. In the early days, this manifested as randomly generated levels from set world types. This offered a great deal of variety, so many wacky possibilities, from floating deep large paradise to long small hell island. Plus, it had a fucking awesome walking animation. God damn, look at that. What the fuck are they doing? This allowed for an essentially infinite game. Each time you make a new level, even with the same parameters, it's going to be different, as the terrain was randomly generated. And there was something inherently cool about that. It was noisy and weird and often surreal. However, in 2010, the game's development would take a major shift, as it went from in-dev to inf-dev. That's actually what it was called. I didn't make that pun. This version of the game is incredibly bizarre. Large obsidian walls spread out in the cardinal directions. It is barren and simple and clearly unfinished. But most importantly, it doesn't end. From then on, Minecraft was an infinite game. But like, more. Quickly afterwards, the shape and feel of Minecraft would begin to form. The garish green replaced with a variety of different biomes that aim to seamlessly blend together. These infinite worlds are so interesting, but really only in theory. The actual most interesting part of Minecraft is what people make. I don't even just mean what you build, but even the more structured parts of the game, the more controlled dungeon-like areas, are significantly more fun to find because they mean something. They are there to be played through. They were put there on purpose, as opposed to the rest of the world, which is simply just natural noise. Which I think is a pretty important point. It's millions of kilometers of the same old shit. In the old days, this was fun because the system was deeply flawed. As world generation got better, got more realistic, had fewer and fewer errors, got more natural, it stopped being fun at all. If you're going to put a normal mountain in my game, I'd much rather it be done by a person, one who put thought into it. If the computer is going to do it, I want it to do something wacky. I want it to fuck up. I don't want it to be natural or human because it isn't. That's the thing. Minecraft is so limited despite all that's in it. So it being infinite just doesn't really matter. If anything, it's more of a hindrance. All it does is take away from how special everything feels. Because chances are, whatever interesting thing you love about your world is in someone else's too. Minecraft worlds are so disposable, so meaningless. Planets worth of mountains, forests, rivers, oceans, peoples, hell and beyond are created and discarded in seconds. Just look at how speedrunners play. Does that feel like the discarding of a world multiple times the size of our planet? No. We will never see all of Minecraft. We will never see all of its worlds, and I don't think a single person cares. All Minecraft worlds are unique and all Minecraft worlds are the same. There's one last type of infinite game we haven't really talked about. Quite possibly the worst type. The most corporate. See, Minecraft is developed by a studio called Mojang, which you probably knew. A fun little fact about their history is that in 2011, they actually got in legal trouble with ZeniMax, who owns Bethesda, over their game Scrolls, which ZeniMax considered to be copyright infringement in regards to Elder Scrolls. Now, both of these companies are owned by Microsoft. I don't think I need to be the one to tell you that Microsoft is one of the most horrendous companies, and that is very steep competition. They are genuinely fucking evil, and I sincerely hope that this stupid Xbox rebrand doesn't go their way. In 2014, Microsoft acquired indie darling Minecraft, and while us Java Edition players lived in ignorant bliss, if you check over with what console players are up to, what the fuck? What the fuck is a Minecoin? That's right, Minecraft is a live service game. Live service makes sense in theory, especially for multiplayer games that kind of need patches and fixes, but it has become increasingly dominant, and it's quite worrying. More and more single player or story-driven experiences have become live service for no reason other than money. For one, you cannot own a live service game. Once the servers go offline, the game is gone. You have no ownership at all. 2. As opposed to buying a new video game, which is a one-time big purchase that you do ever so often and save up for, live service games through systems like microtransactions will bleed you dry with smaller, incremental purchases. While all of this is true and sucks, for the purposes of this video, we should look at the supposed appeal of live service. All of the examples I've given so far have been limited in some way. Scope, variety, game design, but all of these share one thing. The major limitation on all of the infinite games we've discussed is that they can never grow more stuff. Minecraft worlds, roguelike reshuffling, emergent gameplay, the endless arcadey looping, all of it is defined by the fact that their infinity is pulling from a limited source. So what if that wasn't the case? This is the ideal, the fantasy of the live service game, and there is something there. An actual, living, breathing, ever-evolving world. It's hard to pretend that the concept has no potential, just that the execution has been nothing short of sickening, a representation of the worst of AAA, a true corporate capitalist nightmare genre. Minecraft should have ended in 2011, 15 years ago, and yet here we are, with new updates still being made, still new things crammed into this dusty old sandbox, there to justify giving Microsoft more money on the game you already own. Also, they can use your money to fund atrocities. A lot of my channel has kind of revolved around these sorts of ideas. Art trapped within a corporate nightmare shell. I do really enjoy Minecraft, and while I have criticized its implementation of infinity, there is one time where it does it almost perfectly. If you care about infinity and its theoretical ramifications, then I'm sure you've heard of Jorge Luis Borges's The Library of Babel, the short story about a library containing every possible combination of 25 characters, with the most obvious consequence of it being that everything that has and could ever be written is already there. Every book, every message you've ever sent someone, and exactly what they've sent back. A detailed description of the lives of every person you've ever met. A transcription of all your thoughts up to this very moment, the exact cure for cancer, and so on. but mostly, it's just gibberish. The chances of you finding a coherent sentence are so low that even trying is a futile effort. There have been quite a few digital adaptations of the Library of Babel, which makes sense. The random generator offered a way to make the concept real in some way. Out of all of these though, my personal favorite is Minecraft. Oh god, what the fuck am I, a 12-year-old? Yeah, my favorite is the Minecraft one. I'm such a hack. On April 1st, 2020, Mojang released an update for Minecraft that added its own infinite library, and as often depicted, are a seemingly endless amount of rooms all lined with bookshelves, with each shelf containing a myriad of books, all filled mostly with nonsense. You could search endlessly for something coherent. I mean, it is out there, but that's not what makes this so interesting. You can go to other depictions for that. No, you can pick up any book off the shelf and can turn that endless gibberish into a world. For one day on April 1st, Minecraft was a genuinely infinite game. Like the books themselves, the vast majority of these worlds are nonsense. They're incoherent and chaotic, but there's truly nothing like them out there. This is unrestrained infinity, and it's so much more interesting because of it. Truly all the ways that Minecraft can be reshuffled, not limited by its need to feel normal and natural, the true nonsense of infinity without thought. Of course, between worlds that will hurt your eyes or melt your PC or both, are worlds with something to them. You can find one where light and dark are inverted, endless bridges, the credits for the game, a world that decays further into chaos as you travel out, worlds that harken back to Minecraft's past, fractals, a buried corpse in the middle of nowhere, mazes with no ends, rooms that reach far into the sky, a world that sounds like this. And even a simulation of Langton's Ant. Though even here, Microsoft rears its ugly head. This update, as much as it is a clear love letter to a lot of the concepts around Infinity, it also somewhat feels like a commentary on Minecraft itself. I think it's pretty noteworthy that it was called the Ultimate Content Update. That has a certain connotation to it. Content. It feels quite soulless, quite corporate. Minecraft has been turned into an ultimate content machine by Microsoft. There is always the expectation of more and more, and it's not just the companies, it is also the fans. There is this intense desire for more of the same, for games not to end. If you've ever heard the term dead game thrown around, this is why. Especially with PC games, there is always an expectation for infinite endless content. There is an intense entitlement and a seeming unwillingness to move on. I can't help but feel this with our culture of live service games and endless remakes and remasters. It seems that it's difficult to move on. There is a desire for the infinite content machine. I think one of the most interesting games to ever deal with this is also a bit of another unorthodox pick for a Smarty Pants video essay, and that is B3313. I said this to make sure you understand that I am absolutely not part of the community for this game. Most of the people that have covered it are either adjacent to Nintendo YouTube or spooky ARG stuff. So when I say it's good, I truly mean it because I am neither of those. It defied all my expectations. Not only that, but because of the interest of the communities it is typically covered in, I don't think the game's true potential has ever been fully analyzed. So B3313 is a game that uses Mario 64 as a base to explore quite a few things. The simple premise is that this beta build of the game has some sort of AI that is able to alter and change it as it's played, to infinitely generate new Mario for you so that the game never actually has to end. An endless fun Mario adventure. The thing about it though is that the AI, left without human oversight, can only illogically regurgitate the same iconography over and over, variations upon the same idea placed in nonsensical spaces, all of it vaguely resembling the Mario 64 we're all familiar with. And the further you go in, the more it is allowed to make, the higher the chance you're going to see something go wrong. As the AI has no context, no actual understanding, its infinite resources recycling of the same assets, iterating upon each other until they barely resemble what they're supposed to represent anymore. B3313 feels like playing through someone else's nostalgia. They're fond childhood memories that have grown skewed and inaccurate over time. It feels like you're seeing something that you're not supposed to, an experimental build destined to hit the cutting room floor. It feels like a game from another world, a look at what could have been, and often it feels like a nightmare. That's the most interesting part to me. B3313, though often restrained, willing to give you lots of calm and normal space, is still a horror game, a playable creepypasta. It wants to scare you, but genuinely what is there to be afraid of? You might say the super scary creepypasta evil ghost, and I'd respond back, is that actually what it is? Look, the game might be scary to us, but within the actual fiction, within the world of the text, there is nothing to be afraid of. Is there any malice behind what we're seeing? Or is it just our pattern-seeking brains, humanizing the random noise of a machine, cycling through all the possible variations of a castle hallway? It could be an evil ghost, or a rogue AI that has gained sentience, but way more likely, it's nothing at all. No intent. It doesn't want you to be afraid, it doesn't know what that means. A stopped clock is right twice a day. You can't know what is a coincidence and what is on purpose. That's the thing about machine art, isn't it? You could find the most beautiful book in that infinite library, but it doesn't really matter, does it? That sentence didn't come out of anyone's mind, it wasn't put there with any purpose at all. It is nothing more than the consequence of an infinite system. It literally had to be there. It can by chance perfectly replicate the semiotics of art, but because we understand that there was no thought behind it, it doesn't really matter. B3313 only works as well as it does because every part of it was made by people. The implication of meaning is often all we really need. Our pattern-seeking brains read more deeply into works than their creators intended all the time. But at least they intended something. I think works like B3313 came out at almost the perfect time, because I don't think the concept of the infinite content machine has ever been more relevant. I want to save a proper discussion of AI for another day, but it is genuinely disheartening to see the increased use of generative AI in game development. Look at Activision, who are owned by Microsoft. They have been pumping AI slop into their games, and it's just so fucking awful. Major companies and slot merchants want you to accept this. Art without a creator, without intent or meaning, just infinite content. Endless regurgitations of what we once cared for. The idea being that it only has to look like art, replicate the semiotics of something a person made. While it is genuinely terrible, it isn't really anything new. Generative AI is simply the logical endpoint of where we've been headed. You don't have to be a robot to be slop. Just look at this platform, look at this genre. There are countless video essayists out there who only regurgitate and wrap themselves up in the iconography of the video essay. The modern algorithmically driven internet was simply a step towards the infinite content machine, with the only cap being the fact that people still had to go out and make the videos, as low effort as they can often be. It feels like we have been almost primed for this, as games became more and more scammy and vapid and bloated, and as our phones push us to consume at rapid rates and discard even faster, to not even give people's work a second of our attention if it isn't immediately attention grabbing, to endlessly scroll through stimulating nothingness. Gen AI is just the next logical step, to remove the last bit of personal expression and replace it with pure profit-driven garbage. It is very easy to get doomer about all of this, which is fucking stupid. Cop on. This shit isn't working. People are waking up to the fact that the infinite content machine is genuinely bum crap from a poo ass, that actually they quite like when people make things. There is hope for the future as long as you put the effort in, which means supporting artists, and I think most importantly, also learning to create yourself. Like, genuinely. If you have aspirations of writing or drawing or animating, whatever fucked up shit you like, you gotta do it, man. You only have one fucking life, and you're probably gonna suck ass and balls when you start out, but that's part of the beauty of it, man. Honing your skills and getting better is what sets us apart from the void of talent that is the infinite content machine. Do it. Do some shit. Seriously. Everyone's got at least one good idea, so just fucking learn something. It isn't enough to simply reject this shit. You have to actually do something. You have to give money to me on Patreon. I opened this video with my anxiety over the finite, that everything must end, but honestly, that's a good thing. Obviously. You already know that I'm just a fucking crazy person with bizarre anxieties. Our endless reboots and remakes and remasters have rewarded not moving on, but I think we should, and we should make some cool new shit, because it's the main thing that we can do that the machines can't. I've been Kai from Kai's Home for Aspiring Vampires. And don't check, but this video is actually infinitely long. Past this point, everything will be procedurally generated. I would just like to thank patrons Honeyzilia, Vorpy, Queen of Fish Burrito, Becky, Stelly, Dasha, Dayglow, Goma, Nico, Saxon, Sammy3D, and It's June for their support. Wahoo!
Any normal person would want to beat the machine.